And hello everyone, welcome back once again to ANI201. In this video I'm going to explain the core concepts of 3D and how to get around them. Because 3D in After Effects is not necessarily 3D as you and I would think it would be. It would be more accurate to think of it like a dollhouse, where you have very flat 2D layers in a 3D space. And to prove that, I've got a couple of samples here that I've just picked off the internet. I've got a cave, a dirt, grass, and sky. So let me just go and grab the grass and just drag it into my timeline right here. This right here is currently a 2D object. And yes, I'm aware I have this currently set to half resolution, but it shouldn't necessarily be too much of an issue. Now, to make this a 3D object, there's this little box right up here, a little cube. That's 3D object. So if I click this box, it'll become a 3D object. If you don't have this, go to columns, and it should be under switches, I believe. Yeah, switches winds up taking that on and off. So switches will allow the 3D object to appear. So just to showcase this, I'm going to hit R for rotation. You see how I only have one possible rotation, negative and positive along this axis. If I hit this 3D button, it now becomes three different objects. I have X, Y, and Z now. X will go this way. Y will go this way. And Z will go the way we're used to. And that's same with position. I can go X-axis, Y-axis, and Z-axis. Some people were wondering how some things were like somehow popping in from like all angles. It's simply because there was a camera in the way, and it just got behind the camera. To prove a point, I'm going to go up into Layer, New, and I'm going to hit Camera. And it'll ask me if I want a one-node camera or a two-node camera. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to pick a one-node camera. What's the difference between a one-node and a two-node? With a one-node, I move the camera's position and what it's looking at the same time. With a two-node camera, if I move the camera, it will still be looking at the same point, so it will automatically angle itself to always look at the same spot. For simplicity's sake, I'm putting a one-node camera in. So, you might not have seen anything that looks much different now, but now if I were to change that Z-axis, eventually, there it goes. Eventually, we will get behind the camera, and the camera cannot see it. So, slowly, moving, there it goes. So at about negative 1212 is where I wind up having the camera get things put in front of it, put behind it, and then the camera doesn't see it. Without a camera, you will see everything that's in a front view. But with a camera, things can get hidden behind it. You can have perspective. Now, just looking at this from a flat angle, trying to figure out where the dimensions were, like that was negative 1212. Negative 1212, that's ridiculous. So this is where having this one view is a bad idea. I'm going to switch to 4 views, and this is going to start immediately looking very convoluted. Here are 4 different views. I have a view from the top. And from the view from the top, that little triangle, that's my camera. And this layer right here, that I'm moving back and forth, see it move back and forth here? You're seeing it move back and forth up here? That is my layer. You'll see that it is, in fact, a flat image, just moving in a 3D space now. So you can see stuff from top down. You can also see things from the side. I have this on a right angle. So there it goes. And I also see it from a front view. You'll notice from the front view nothing is changing. But from my active camera, so from whatever camera is currently on top in my timeline, I'm seeing what the camera sees. So I'm looking at this from essentially 4 different points of view. And this is where things wind up having to... You'll need to generally have 4 different views open. And you can switch these. You can, go into... like, click this guy right here. Maybe I don't want this to be right. Maybe I want this to be from the left. I can go and switch it from the left. Maybe I want it to be from the back. I can switch from that. If I want to set some custom views, I can do that. Let's not get into doing custom views. We're just gonna stick with right angles here. So I'll just stick with top, right, front, and active. But because of this, now I can wind up rotating these things, and whoops, wrong way. There we go. I can switch this, put this 90 degrees, and now it's a floor. I don't see it much right now, but if I scale this up some, or more specifically, let me unscale that. Let me just stretch it. Not necessarily that way, but long ways. Stretch it long ways here. So if I move my camera up, P for position once again, move it up a bit, I'll eventually see that there's a floor. There's a floor of grass, and I can see it as I move my camera up and down. I'm seeing it in that top right corner. I'm seeing the perspective on it. Now, obviously, it doesn't make much sense to see under the grass, but if I'm looking at it from like this angle, okay, there's my grass as a floor, and I'm seeing the floor. So, what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to use all 4 of these different views, and I'm going to just bring my dirt sample in as well. And dirt, because it's a 2D object, it will automatically overlay everything. I need to switch it to a 3D object. Now it's no longer that, and I can just scale it. Let me shrink this guy down a bit. There we go. Let me move its position. Move it along the Z-axis here till it gets to where I believe it ends. I'm looking to find the end point of the grass. This is also where, if you need to, going into one view again, just selecting the whatever position you need. So maybe I need the right angle here. I can tell that right here, this guy is not... Whoop, 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 whoop. This guy is not in line, so let me just move it a little closer. Move it right there. I should turn snapping on. So snapping will then snap items to the corners, the edges. So in theory, though, that makes a point right there. So I can tell that my floor and my grass and my dirt are connected to each other right there at that corner. I'll go back to 4 views here, just so we don't see that. So there we go. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to make a sky. I'll put the sky over here, and once again I'll make that a 3D layer, and move that position. Boop, 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 boop. Let's go that. Move it back some. In theory, this should snap, but let's drag it up some. Let's get a little bit closer. One view. And this is where, like I said, sky. Not the camera, I want the sky. I think that should be good. So now if I were to move my camera up, let me actually switch to one view again. I'm going to switch this back to my active camera. So if I were to move my camera back a bit here and position up and down, we have our sky to our grass to now underground with some depth. Let me make this sky a little bit. Of course, if things scale, that means I'm going to have to move my position back down again. Let's scale this some more. I think it's a little bit too big. There we go. Let's position this. And so now if I were to move my camera up and down, I've got the sky coming into the grass, which you see gets shorter and whatnot just simply by doing that. And then I got my underground. So I got this illusion of depth that is occurring now. So let me switch back to 4 views. Let me just make a cave here. I'm going to essentially just, go with a cave sample down here. And I'm going to grab this guy, make it a 3D layer. And once again, I'm just going to position this guy down. And I'm going to rotate it. Yep, wrong way. Rotate, wrong way again. I will remember the correct way. There we go. 90 degrees. And position. Snapping should be turned on, so this should, in theory, let's go with the Z axis. There we go. I'll just copy you, paste you, position you down some, just to make a cave, and I'll paste you again. I will rotate you back to 0 and position you down some. I don't truly care if that winds up looking a little bit awkward from a side with some overlap right now. All I care about right now is going to be moving my camera. I could move all these guys as well with a null object, parenting them to a null object, but I'm just going to move my camera for this, and I'm going to switch to 1 view with my active camera view. So now what I have here is I have this scrolling down motion, whoosh, and then we go through this, and as you can see, there's a gap right there. This is why you need to make sure that everything is lined up correctly. But what I have here is I have this little cave. And let me just click this and just move it down some. Click this and move you back some. Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, actually, let me position you way further back. Give us more depth here. So what I have here is I have a cave, some sort of cave system of some sort. Let me scale you. There we go. Got ourselves a cave system of some sort. Underground cave. Then we have our dirt, we have our grass, and we have our sky. And we've essentially made a little kind of dollhouse effect of 3D layers. And of course, if I were to rotate the camera, I could, see side to side and see there's nothing actually there. I could twist it like this. I could look up and down. And we could see how bizarre these would look from outside of angles that are not the way the camera would be positioned in normal circumstances. So you always have to think about where your camera is located, how it's going to be located, what you're going to do with it, which is why I highly recommend looking at these 4 views, and you can see the camera pointing from this angle and looking at all the objects. You can see from the top view what's happening with all your objects. You can see from the front view what's happening, so on and so forth. So that's the general overview of 3D. And so if you ever see something, doing some sort of like Star Wars-y text or anything where it pops up from behind the camera all around and just zooms in or zooms out, what you're seeing is most likely a 3D layer, and you have a camera in place. So, and of course, I can also add a light if I wanted to, but lights add shadows and all that sort of fun stuff, and you'll find that suddenly things that you thought were well lit are suddenly in complete darkness and you see nothing. So we might just talk about lighting in a completely separate video. So thank you very much, and you guys have a great day. Hope this helped you out. Feel free to ask any questions if need be. I'll be making more videos throughout the week. Thank you very much.